Welcome to Net Profit College Basketball. It is Pub Sports Radio, Saturday, January 29th. Ian Cameron with Conor Mack breaking down the Saturday college basketball slate. Another huge Saturday of action. And we're going to be joined as well by Maxwell Smart. Can you believe it? For the first time here on the Saturday show. He'll be joining us at some point later on, breaking down and opinions from this Saturday slate. So looking forward to seeing Max later on in the show. Conor, it's a huge slate, so let's get to it as we always do. We'll start with the earliest games. We got a lot of weird, awkwardly scheduled. I love how they do this every year. They just drop these games right in the middle of the conference season. We've got the Big 12 SEC Challenge today, a ton of those games today with Big 12 teams taking on SEC teams. I always say, why do they do it at this time of year? But it is what it is, and teams have to adjust.
I agree.
Bettors have to.
I like it, but you're right. Real quick, it's just right in conference play. It's very strange, but it is always fun though. I do enjoy these matchups.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's good, and they really try to set it up so that it's really the best teams in each conference kind of like playing each other. Like you got Oklahoma, Auburn, you've got West Virginia, Arkansas, you got Kentucky and Kansas, you got Baylor and Baylor and Alabama, I should say. You know, it's almost like they're trying to get the best teams against the best teams from each of these conferences go head-to-head. So there are a lot of good games, intriguing games. So we'll break those down. We'll make sure we hit them all. But we'll start at noon Eastern with Wichita State, Tulane, a little AAC matchup here. Wichita State's taking a ton of money, 2.5-point road favorites, 138.5 the total. Was that win against Central Florida a season turning point maybe for Wichita State? Look, they haven't had a good season. They were struggling big time. Then they had this pause. And then they played Central Florida, and, you know, they played a really good basketball game. They raced out to an early lead. They kind of blew it almost because they let Central Florida back into the game, but they hung on and won. On the flip side, you've got the Tulane Green Wave, who've been one of my favorite teams to back this year. Ron Hunter's done a terrific job again. You know, this is not exactly a talent-rich program just yet. It's getting there, but he gets the absolute most out of it. You talk about maximizing the potential. That's what Ron Hunter does with Tulane, you know, and I think their offense is coming off just a breakthrough against Tulsa. They beat the crap out of Tulsa.
I was shocked. Game. They shot the lights out
of
that game. Yeah, go ahead.
They did.
Shit.
That always concerns me, though, Conor, because when you have this outlier shooting performance, there's a lot of instances where you just fall flat the next game. This is also a not your average revenge spot for Wichita State. They completely blew it to Tulane on their home floor earlier this year. They had a lead. Second half, they totally collapsed. Tulane came all the way back to beat them in Wichita earlier this year. So I think people see Wichita winning their last game after a pause. Maybe that's a sign they hit the reset button. They're ready to go on a run. I think they have kind of underachieved. Maybe Tulane's kind of overachieved. Wichita and revenge. I think those factors are kind of why all the money's come in on Wichita. And I get it. But I'm not ready to back Wichita just yet after one game. And I like Tulane too much to go against them. So really, if anything, you know, if this line continues to go higher, I'm going to get interested in Tulane as a home underdog. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, I think so too, a little bit here with Tulane. Wichita has been good. I always think they're better at home. They kind of hit a lull as well lately. I wanted 2.5, 3. I think I like Tulane a little bit better. They just, shot it unreal against Tulsa. Tulsa got burned twice. They burned me. One of the games I had the under in that last one. But when I think of these games early morning, I think under here. And I think to get back to the shooting of both these teams having, you know, slower play. So I have to lean under in this spot. And I just don't trust Wichita that much to be laying the bucket here. If I had to, I'd roll with on the side Tulane here at home.
Yeah, I get the reasons for liking Wichita, but I've just not been a big. I think their offense can just go stagnant, you know, for extensive periods of time during games. That's what's bothered me all year about Wichita State. And now on the road, we'll see. But I will say that was their best game in a long time, though, against Central Florida. And maybe that pause that they had allowed them to maybe get their shit together, if you will. Maybe they're going to play better down the stretch. We'll see. Georgetown, Butler, Big East play. We've got Butler 5.5 point home favorites here, 138.5 the total here in this game. We've got Georgetown just continues to be, for the most part, a disaster. I mean, they've lost, 7 in a row now here. One of those games non-conference, 6 of those in Big East play. Marquette, they get drilled. Butler, they already lost to Butler at home by 14. They lose at St. John's by 19. They do cover a couple of times against Villanova and Providence, single-digit losses by 8 and by 9, and then get drilled by UConn last game, 96-73. It's just same old Georgetown. Can't stop anybody. Offensively, they're better on that end of the floor, but not enough to overcome their defensive woes. Butler's coming off a blowout home win against Creighton. Before that, snapped a 4-game losing streak. They already beat Georgetown handily on the road earlier this year. And you look at the head-to-head series. Last year, Butler won by 8, 63-55 at home against Georgetown here at Hinkle Fieldhouse. I would only look to lay in it here with Butler. Butler's in general not a team I'm always looking to lay points with. They're another team offensively. Sometimes they go into droughts that can cost you a cover, especially when laying points. But I'd still prefer laying points to put Butler than taking Georgetown here. They've owned the matchup. They already beat them by 14 on the road. Yeah, it's a revenge spot for Georgetown, but revenge doesn't matter as much when you're a bad team. I've said that millions of times. So Butler or pass for me. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, as Babano said, shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate you. Brenda Jones, Max will be here in about an hour. He'll be on for 20 or 30 minutes. I would lean Butler here a little bit as well. Obviously, Butler totals are way lower than this normally, but Butler's gone over in 5 straight. Georgetown just gives up a ton of points. You talked about how bad defensively they are. Babano, just horrible, sloppy with the ball on offense. And they're a little bit better offensively. This is a game I did not like. Do you want to lay with this Butler team? Yeah, if I had to, free bet, I would bet Butler here. This is a game I just crossed off. And I don't know if this total's too high. Obviously, high for Butler, but low for Georgetown. Kind of right in the middle here. So nothing on the total.
All right, we got Miami, Georgia Tech. Miami 3-point road favorites, 144 the total in this game. I mean, I'm just amazed and beyond amazed at what Jim Larinaga just continues to do as a head coach. I mean, Miami was not expected to be great this year. They have clearly been a lot better than anybody expected. 15-5, 7-2 in conference play. The dangerous spot, though, Georgia Tech, even though they're 2-6 in conference play, 9-10 on the year, they are coming off a big win against Florida State at home. And they seem to always play a little bit better on their home floor. But there's no doubt I like what I'm seeing here from this Miami team. They've been absolutely terrific. No question about it. When you look at it, I love their guard play. Charlie Moore, he's been a terrific find, terrific addition. Cameron McGusty's been here for a while. Isaiah Wong, same thing, multi-year players for this Miami team that are giving them big offensive punch. I think that's been really one of the craziest things about Miami, Conor, is how good offensively they've been. For years, this team has been, their foundation has been play really good defense, rebound the basketball, slow the pace down, try to grind out wins. This is about as good as I've seen Miami basketball in years at the offensive end. I mean, for the entire year, they're shooting 47% field goal percentage, 36.8% from three-point range. I mean, these are just atypical of Miami basketball numbers at the offensive end of the floor. I mean, we're just not accustomed to seeing Miami be this efficient, this good, offensively. But this year they definitely are. When you look at offensive efficiency for the overall year, 17th in the entire country in offensive efficiency for Miami. And it's been impressive to watch. Georgia Tech will not be an easy opponent. They do seem to play a little bit better on their home floor, solid defensively, but certainly not the offensive team that Miami is. I still think Miami's just been so good in terms of covering numbers. I'm not stepping in front of Miami. Do I love the -3 on the road? No, but I do have a small bet still on Miami. I think they're the better team. I think they're the kind of team that has shown the ability to go on the road, tough environments, get the job done. They beat Virginia Tech on the road. They nearly beat Florida State on the road. They beat Duke as a 15-point dog on the road. Some of their best games have been on the road this year. So they seem to be road warriors, the Hurricanes. I do think they're still a little bit better than Georgia Tech. So for me, a small bet on Miami here, -3. Cheshire Cat, $5 dono. Thanks very much. We appreciate it. C-Mac, what do you think here?
Yeah, definitely shout out to Cheshire Cat. I know he threw in this, you'll talk about it later, Duck Sens. I think the Sens might be a little bit live today in that back-to-back that they're kind of playing. And obviously the Ducks have gone over in a ton of road games lately. Yeah, Jake, I wish Manhattan, that was about the worst pathetic performance of them. could see all year. I think they went
That was a
2 of
great
15.
spot for them too. St. Peter's was coming off 3 road games in like a week, and back home flat spot maybe, and they were terrible.
Flat spot, and I went through everything. I mean, St. Peter's hadn't beat anybody by more than 8 at home, kind of in that level. It just was, yeah, I thought it was a perfect spot. Just shit happens. I mean, it was, God damn it. Shit happens. So it was crazy. But thanks, Arthur Mead. Shout out to you, my man, for the $1 dono. Thanks to all you guys who give us donos. We appreciate it so much. I'll be quick here. I backed Miami. It's kind of like these people that have been on Boise. Now, obviously, last night that game was insane. Shavers with the shot, like goes to OT, and they pull out another one on the road. I like Georgia Tech the other night against Florida State when we were on the show. And I just think this early morning game, if you're going on the eye test, Babano, this is Miami here. I've backed them. You play them like you talked about Wong, McGusty, Moore. But I just think it could be a leery spot. Now they're going on these road games, laying points. Georgia Tech, a team that's been kind of not very good, that's played down all year, but coming off that big one against Florida State, it just was – I just been on Miami so much, but I'm going to stay off today. I think it could be tight.
All right, we stay in the ACC with Duke and Louisville. Next up in this one, we've got Duke 6-point road favorites, 142 the total. Lots of turmoil. Chris Mack officially out now at Louisville, and it was about time. Obviously there's been stuff going on off the court, and obviously the performance on the court was getting worse, not better. They collapsed against Notre Dame, totally lethargic, non-competitive loss at Virginia after that, and the writing was pretty much on the wall. It's time to cut the cord with Chris Mack. They've done that. So now you have an interim coach for the rest of the year here for Louisville. How are they going to react to that is going to end up being the big question here moving forward. So, he clearly had lost the team, Chris Mack. It was time for him to leave for sure. The question is, will this light a spark under Louisville, or has this season already been too much of a shit show to salvage anything? I guess we're going to find out today. Betting markets seem to think Louisville's going to show up today, first game for the interim coach, and I buy into that type of angle more in the professional sports. NFL, NBA, NHL, first game after a coaching change, they show up. I don't know about college though. I think it's less of an angle that works in college compared to the pro ranks. So the bottom line is, I understand people taking Louisville a little bit because look, the situation. Maybe they just dislike Max so much that they're going to play one hell of a game today. But when you look at what we've seen from Louisville all year and what you've seen from Duke all year, it actually looks like a very cheap number on Duke. Only laying 6 on the road. They're certainly the far superior team. I'm just going to stay off this game. It's just too weird all around. Duke has had some missteps on the road. Let's keep that in mind. They lost at Florida State. They lost at Ohio State earlier this year. I know they've got a tremendously talented group. There's no question about that. And look, the problem for Louisville too all years, this is another team where their offense can just be absolutely pathetic at times. If it's not Malik Williams and Noah Locke scoring for them, there's nobody else that steps up with secondary and third support offense for this Louisville team. And it's been an issue, whereas Duke, when their defense is on, this can be a very easy to guard Louisville team. So I would look probably at Duke still -6 if I had to bet it. I'm not ready to just say, yeah, let's bet Louisville today because the coach is gone. Still a bad team. They got to show me first with a good performance. It's a show me business. They got to show me that, hey, they're ready to maybe come together and play a better game without Chris Mack there. That's still a big if in my mind. I lean Duke, but I'm going to clear stay off game, just a clear watch and observe game for me, in my opinion. Lean to the under as well. Conor, what do you think here?
Got to give a shout out, Mike Wilkerson. Thank you, my guy, for the $1.99 dono. We appreciate it. We appreciate the donos. Like I said, thanks, guys, on the Saturday for hitting us up with some donos. Nuke Worker, Crumb, Cheshire Cat, my guy, the Real Deal Prime, the Grinder is in here. Good. All you guys that are in here, we appreciate. My guy, Jake the Snake, Jake Kaiser in here. Everybody, Sam Comer, Paulie Walnuts, Nunya, Cab, all the regulars. Shout out to you guys for joining us here. You know what? Louisville seemed like it might be a little bit interesting, but man, at 9, and this would come if you got it last night. But they're just not a good basketball team. They struggle to score at times. Yeah, are they going to play up with Mack being gone and good riddance? I think he was just dragging that program down. But you talked about their trouble scoring. They're at home. I don't see it. I got to see them play better. This could be kind of a tough spot, but it's a pass for me. And I don't really feel like laying it with Duke. I guess you think it's a little bit cheap. Now it's 6. I just think there's a ton of games today, so I'm off it as well.
Yeah, I sure do. I think when you look at raw power ratings here, this is definitely a cheap line on Duke. I mean, they are potentially a whole lot better than Louisville. The question is Louisville going to be crap just like they've been all year, or is this actually going to be a team where they actually show you a little, a little life and a little energy here and something better obviously after the dismissal of Chris Mack? That's the biggest question here. And to me, it's a guessing game. And that's why I'm not betting it, because I think it's too much of a guessing game to get involved with it. All right, next up, we've got, as we continue along here, we've got LSU and TCU. LSU 3-point road favorites, 126. This is the first of many Big 12 versus SEC matchups taking place today. LSU, of course, the question mark with them, Conor, is always, Xavier Pinson's status. We've been looking at that basically every single game for the last few, and he's out, it looks like, once again today for LSU. Darius Day is questionable as well, so keep that in mind.
I heard he's in. I've already looked at that on Twitter. Yeah, Days is in, and Pinson, I think, is going to be out. And if he did play, it'd be a few minutes. That's what I saw this morning, just about a half hour ago.
Okay, that's good, because I know I've got the site I'm using, RotoWire. They say he's out, so and they're usually pretty on the ball with it. So I had assumed that they were not gonna. They were pretty right with that. I wasn't expecting him back anyway, but nevertheless, LSU finally got a win, 70-64 against A&M in their last game at home. It's the first time they've won a game, obviously, since Pinson went down with that injury. They had lost 3 in a row. We'll see if they can carry that over here to this game against TCU. You got TCU off a 73-50 blowout loss to Texas, which was an ugly one for them. They also lost at home to Baylor by 12. To me, I just think LSU is the better of these two teams. I'd lean to them minus the 3. I just don't love this. These are tough. I mean, especially when you've got LSU playing in conference and playing. They've played some big games lately against Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky. You go out of conference, playing TCU, laying on the road, still without Pinson. Don't know if I want to pull the trigger, but I would certainly take LSU here and lay the 3 before I trust TCU in this game. The under probably makes some sense. Now, look, the total's very low, 125, 126, but definitely would lean to this being a low-scoring game. One of the reasons LSU's had a nice season, this has been the best defensive team Will Wade's had. It's not even close. We'll see if they can rely on that defense today. I'd lean under the total in this game. Conor, LSU, TCU.
Yeah, LSU's the better team here, but this won't be easy, I think, going here on the road, winning by 4 or 5. I think, I thought TCU had played pretty well all year until that bad game against Texas. And Texas finally had a good shooting night, and TCU did not. And, at home, you talked about some of those bad losses before by TCU. It could happen. I like the under a little bit better in this one. So I lean under and give me the 3 points with TCU here at home.
Good stuff. Next up, Big Ten state rivalry coming up next. Michigan and Michigan State. We've got the Spartans 4-point home favorites, 138 being the total here in this game. Obviously, Michigan State's been one of those teams that they look good on the surface, 15-4 overall their record right now. The Spartans, but they've had some frustrating games and some just not been able to close a couple of games recently. Home loss to Northwestern, 64-62. And then last game at Illinois, they actually made a furious comeback and ended up falling short. Just late game execution issues really have doomed Michigan State the last couple of games. On the flip side, is Michigan starting to get it right? We always said Michigan, what's wrong with them? They've been a huge disappointment for the majority of this season. But the last 3 games have been better from them. They crushed Maryland at home 83-64. They beat down Indiana in very impressive fashion on the road 80-62. And then they, not a pretty performance, but they get past Northwestern 72-70. What I've noticed is the point guard play has been better. That's obviously been a sore spot for most of the year. They've cut down on turnovers, which was also an issue earlier in the year. And all of a sudden you're seeing Eli Brooks play a little bit better. Caleb Houston stepped up, and Devontae Jones. I mean, you got guys finally shooting the way they're capable of, chipping in offensively the way they are. Caleb Houston's been the one that's really taken a step forward offensively. Some really good performances during these last 3 wins, 16, 19, and 18 points in the last 3 games, way more than his points per game average on the year. That's definitely been a big reason why Michigan's kind of turned it around offensively the last 3 games. 3 straight overs as well for Michigan as they played better at the offensive end. That's where I kind of lean here, is the over in this game. I try to gravitate from, not playing these early starts over the total, but we're talking a pretty manageable total in this one. When Michigan State gets a turnover, and Michigan still, turnovers have been an issue. Michigan State gets those turnovers from Michigan. They're about as good as it gets with transition offense. They really push it. They really try to score before the defense gets set off a turnover. So that could lead to some easy basket situations for the Spartans here. And that could speed up the pace a little. And actually, Michigan has just a little bit gone upward in terms of their pace the last few games. Plus, look, they've just been a much more efficient offense the last 3 games as well. So I think this game's worth a bet to the over here, especially with the total being 138, which is where it is right now. Conor, what do you think here? Michigan State.
Yeah, if these teams offensively play how they're supposed to, I think it goes over with Michigan State at home. Just the early morning in conference, the rivalry, Michigan State. It just seems like this could be a rock fight in the 60s. So that's kind of kept me off this early morning one. It's come down a little bit, like you talked about. 139, there's 137 and a half. I'm going to stay off. Initially, I kind of liked last night, Michigan getting, if you could have got 4.5. There's basically 3s everywhere. There's a couple 3.5s, but yeah, I just don't love both. These teams have been up and down. I can't figure them out. There's just no consistency to them. So it was a game I had to pass on.
Yeah, 8-2 to the over. Going back further, they're 8-2 to the over in their last 10 games. Michigan coming into this game. So again, no, they're playing some much better offensive basketball. I think that keys this game going over the total here. 137
if shots drop, you're golden. I think if shots are going down, this will clear it. But this could be a rock fight.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a chance that it goes over the total here. Let's do a little SoCon action. East Tennessee State and VMI. We've got VMI 3.5 point home favorites here, 152. I bring this up. Whenever I'm bringing up a smaller conference game, it means I have a bet on it. That's the thing you always will know about this show. When I'm bringing up a small conference game or a mid-major game, it means I have an opinion on it. And I like VMI here, -3 against East Tennessee State. Revenge spot for VMI. They lost to ETSU earlier this year. VMI, a strong 6-2 straight up, 4-1 against the spread at home this year. So not only a revenge, 80-79 they lost to East Tennessee State earlier this year. And they catch East Tennessee State, not playing their best basketball. Back-to-back losses as home favorites against the Citadel and NC Greensboro. The defense has kind of fallen apart here. 29-50, 27-58 shooting allowed by ETSU the last few games, and their three-point defense has gotten worse, not better. For the season, they're only giving up 32% shooting from 3, 36 now in the last 5 games. That's trouble when you're playing, of course, VMI. We know when that team gets going shooting from long distance, they can be deadly. With Jake Stevens, Cameron Kerfman. Definitely keep an eye on those 2 guys for VMI. I know VMI's off a couple of losses, but look, losses to 2 of the better teams in this conference. Chattanooga, the Mocs are a very good team. They only lost by 4. And don't be fooled by the Furman game. VMI went ice cold in the last 5 minutes. That was like a 5 or 6 point lead for Furman with about 5 minutes to go the other night. And then I think VMI went without a field goal made for the last several minutes of that game. That allowed Furman to pull away and ended up getting the 15-point win. And Furman's a damn good basketball team. We know that. If anyone knows Southern Conference basketball, you know that Furman Paladins are one of the best teams in this conference, so there's no shame in that loss for VMI. Good bounce-back spot at home. playing with revenge for losing by 1 to ETSU earlier this season. So I like VMI here. We'll go with the Keydets -3 in this one. Any thoughts, Connor?
I lean with the Keydets a little bit as well. One thing with VMI, I like catching points with this team because they can keep you in a game with all the scoring they can do. It's a little different when they lay points. You talked about trying to revenge this loss. They lost by 1. What was it, 80-79 earlier this year? I could see it just being close again. I mean, I like VMI at home. I think there should be plenty of points as well. I think this could get over the total here. Both teams are regularly in the 70s and 80s all the time, so I lean over.
All right, Samford, Western Carolina. Samford 4-point road favorites, 150.5, 151 the total. I'm going to be brief. These are two horrendous teams, two horrendous defensive teams, two teams that actually play with relative pace. It's an over bet for me. I'm just going to keep it at that, 150.5, 150. There's nothing more to say. It's just two bad teams, two pretty bad defenses, two teams that play with a bit of pace. I expect points. Simple as that. Did you have anything there, C-Mac?
No, I didn't. That was a game that was a quick cross off for me. I guess it could get over just a lot. Yeah, it's got to get there.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Drexel, Towson, a little colonial action here. We've got Towson 6.5-point home favorites, 138.5 the total. Towson's been great. There's no doubt. Towson's had a terrific season, strong in conference play so far. Very, very good at both ends of the floor. Solid enough offensively. Very, very good defensively. You know, a lot to like with this Towson squad and the way they've played. Obviously, their overall record 15-6. It's a good basketball team here, Towson, no doubt. No question about that. But and they've been, very good covering for the most part as well in most of these games. But Drexel comes in here on a terrific point spread run. They've been absolutely nails as road underdogs. You look at pretty much every game except one this year as road underdogs. Princeton got the cover. At Northeastern, they won the game outright. At Hofstra, getting 8. They lost by 3. At James Madison in their last game, 3.5-point dogs. They won outright, 88-82. This is definitely a Drexel team that has been competitive. They've been in pretty much every game lately. The losses in conference play, they had an 8-point loss to William and Mary. They had a 3-point loss to Hofstra, a 4-point loss to Delaware. It's a lot of points with this Drexel team playing very competitive here going into this game. Questionable, by the way. Someone asking about the status of Terry Nolan. Questionable. He missed the last game. Not sure if he'll suit up. Questionable. Probably will be one of those game time decision deals.
Watch it. Try to just check Twitter, everything. Game, with college here, game time. Yeah.
I like Drexel here. I like the Dragons getting 7. I think it's a close game. They played nothing but close games lately. Drexel in CAA play. Any thoughts here, Connor?
Yeah, I like Drexel the other day against James Madison, and I think this could be just too many at 7. I'm a big fan of Towson, like you talked about. They're one of revenge. They lost at Drexel 65-61, January 3rd. So a little bit revenge for Towson. It just might be too many points. I mean, Drexel's just been good in this role. So for me, I'd lean that way in this one. It was a difficult one. I haven't bet it yet.
All right. Yeah, it is. The revenge spot's something you always want to keep these in mind. But again, with these revenge spots, there's certain situations where you want the revenging team. This one, I'm not so sure because, again, they not only have to win, they got to win by margin against a team that hasn't been losing by margin. And that of course, being Drexel. So that's why I still like the points here with the Dragons in this one. All right, let's go to another of these Big 12 SEC challenge matchups, Oklahoma and Auburn. We've got Auburn 9.5-point home favorites, 136 the total. So Auburn gets the big win against Kentucky last week at home, and I was on Auburn. I laid the 4.5. I thought they're going to get it done. It just feels like it's their spot, their time. They did. It was a great game. They get crowned number 1 team in the country with that win. And sure enough, first game as the number 1 team in the country. They barely get by Missouri in their last game. So you got to wonder now, when these teams are the number 1 team in the poll or whatever the case may be, or the country, do they play with some kind of pressure? Because it seems like every time some team goes up to the number 1 rank, especially in this sport, college basketball, that's when they start to stumble and they lose. And they almost did against Missouri in their last game. I'd expect them to be better here back home against Oklahoma. But what thing I like about Oklahoma is this is a team that under Porter Moser, they're going to try to frustrate you. They're going to try to slow the pace of the game down. We're already seeing Oklahoma play solid defensively, which you'd expect from team that's coached by Porter Moser, and after everything you saw from him at Loyola Chicago, that's the way they're going to play. And I think that's the way they kind of have to play. And the one thing about Auburn is, we've seen teams be able to frustrate them at times when they get slowed down. Missouri did that, and Missouri's not even close to as good a team as Oklahoma. In that 55-54 game, slowed it down, played in the half court, and really tried to frustrate Auburn and not let that athleticism edge they had get the better of them. This is a tricky matchup here for Auburn. I'm leaning to the dog here, Oklahoma. I think they've got it in them to compete here in this one. And when you look at Auburn again, these non-conference games, these Big 12 SEC challenge games, I'm always looking dog before favorite. I think there's a lot of points to be given a quality defensive outfit like Oklahoma. So I think they can hang in this one. Any thoughts here, C-Mac?
Yeah, we'll see, because you mentioned it earlier about this just right in the middle of conference they have this. So it just kind of just throws everything for a loop. I wanted double digits, but it's close enough with Oklahoma, because Auburn back, here at home, they could just route. They played well here at home, beat teams pretty soundly. Good teams, LSU, Florida by 8, Kentucky by 9. So I haven't bet it yet, but my leans to the dog here. I think they maybe can hang around here a little bit with Auburn.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. The one thing I'm concerned about is that Walker Kessler in that paint area for Auburn. He's like a complete and utter shutdown machine around the rim, and a lot of times Oklahoma does rely, on Tanner Groves.
And they get sloppy with the ball. Oklahoma.
Yep. So that's the biggest concern I have here for Oklahoma. That's the one matchup edge that does bother me. And, their offense, if they get behind, against Auburn, and Auburn is another one of those teams like LSU, I think they've gotten a lot better defensively this year. So that is a concern. But again, I saw a hell of a sloppy game just against Missouri from Auburn. And just with these teams that are ranked number 1, people know they're good. You're going to lay a premium with them. I just think there's a few too many. I think Oklahoma's good enough to hang within 9.5 here. We will see. Let's stay with another Big 12 SEC game. West Virginia, Arkansas. Arkansas 8-point home favorites. 143. It is 143.5 here, the total in this game. This is one favorite I would look at if I'm in these Big 12 SEC challenge. I don't trust West Virginia on the road against a team that's going to defend the hell out of them, which Arkansas is going to do, which Arkansas usually does. This is another defensive team, Arkansas, that they don't get the credit they deserve. You look at what they've done lately, holding Missouri to 43. Well, that's not much, but LSU 58, South Carolina 59, Ole Miss 55. This has been a very, very tough Arkansas defense the last 5 games. And what's the problem we always have with West Virginia? They can't shoot straight half the time. How many years do we have to watch West Virginia and see this team just absolutely an open, uncontested shot? Contested shots, this team struggles to hit those. This is definitely going to be a tough matchup on the road here in Fayetteville against Arkansas team that they defend, teams that can, shoot decently. That's not West Virginia, especially of late. We've seen their offense go in the tank. They're just shooting 36% and from the field, and 28% in the last 5 games from 3-point range, West Virginia. That's definitely not what you want to see. Arkansas seems to be rounding into some level of form. 5 straight wins, 4-1 against through their own little funk now, but they flipped the switch. This is still a damn good team. And West Virginia is on the other end of it. While Arkansas is going in the right direction, trending up, West Virginia is trending down. 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread their last 4 games. They just got blown out at home by Oklahoma by 10, 72-62. They can't even rely on their defense anymore. It's kind of gone the other way as well for West Virginia. 74 points allowed, 45% shooting. 5 games combined. I just think Arkansas runs away and hides in this game. And I'll lay the 7.5, 8 here with the Razorbacks in this one. Lean over the total too, because West Virginia's trended that way because of their defense. Maybe an Arkansas team total might be the better way, because do you trust West Virginia to score here enough for the over 143.5? But I'd still lean to the full game over, and I like laying the point. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, you talked about what's happened to West Virginia's defense. This was a grinded kind of under team because they're not a good shooting team, and they've gone 6-7. They've gone over here. I always like Arkansas. I mentioned it. They got it done in Ole Miss on the road. That's good to see. They need to take care of those teams. I always like them better here at home. So I'm with you. West Virginia just has problems right now. So if I were to bet this one, I'd lean Arkansas. I'd lay it. I'd lay the 8.
All right, we go to Missouri, Iowa State here. There's another SEC Big 12 matchup. Iowa State 10.5-point home favorites, 10.5, 130 the total. I'm taking Missouri here. I mean, this team has just been undervalued. They've been a point spread machine lately. Now, it's obviously you're playing at Hilton Coliseum. It's a tough place to play. And this is the first home game for Iowa State since the worst home game I think that program has ever played on their home floor, losing to TCU 59-44. I mean, 44 points at home. It was abysmal, that game. But Iowa State did bounce back, a nice road win in overtime against Oklahoma State in their last game. Brockington's just an outstanding player for them. They rely on him sometimes a bit too much, but you can't deny how good he's been for Otzelberger and this Iowa State team. Missouri, though, I mean, 4-0 against the spread their last 4 games. 3-point loss to A&M. They beat Ole Miss. 10-point loss at Alabama. 1-point loss at home against Auburn in their last game. This is just a Missouri team that because they were so shit for the first month or two in the season, you're now getting value to back them just as they're starting. It's a lot of points. You know, Iowa State is coming off a grueling, tough overtime game on the road. They could definitely be flat or actually split it up. Maybe a first half Missouri plus 5.5, plus 6 to go along with that full game plus 10, 10.5, because definitely I could see Iowa State maybe a little bit flat early in the game against a lower rung team, especially coming off a thrilling overtime game, short week as well, too. Only a couple days after that game at Oklahoma State. So Iowa State could be in trouble early, and maybe they wake up as the game goes. But I would maybe split it up with Missouri a little first half. Conor, what do you think?
Missouri's played better. I mentioned earlier in this year, they were one of the teams in the country that lost the most players. There was just a ton of transfer, a bunch of new guys that came in. These last games in January 8th, so they beat Alabama. They have a horrible loss to Arkansas by 40. They lose A&M by 3. They beat Mississippi. They lose Alabama by 10, and then they just lost to Auburn by 1. I mean, Iowa State's the better team here, but now they're starting to lay the points, and there could be a little value. It's just you could have got 12, 11.5, 12. Now you're not getting that. So just tough for me here in this one. It's still 10. I lean that way, but this is a game I have not bet, so it's a pass.
All right, Xavier Creighton, Big East. We've got Xavier, 1.5-point road favorites, 139 the total. I think Creighton's worth a look here. This is another revenge game. Xavier won earlier this year at home. Now Creighton gets to return the favor, and Creighton, it can be pretty difficult. And they played good there lately as well. Creighton, some of their better games have been at home this year. 7-2 straight up on the year. Creighton at home. They beat DePaul by 13. They crushed St. John's 87-64. Beat up on Villanova by 20 at home. So Creighton, again, this home gym is a tough one. And Xavier's not even playing that great, to be honest with you. They've dropped a couple in a row. And they've now gone 5 straight games without a point spread cover as well. 0-5 ATS last 5 games for Xavier. The wins were Creighton at home. Like I said, Creighton in revenge today. And a 1-point road win at DePaul. I mean, it's not been overly impressive lately from the Xavier Musketeers. There's no question about that. By the way, it looks like in this one, when you look at it from a situational standpoint, both teams played a midweek game, so no major advantage. Look at the first meeting, Creighton with the 80-73 win. Xavier shot 50% from the field in that game. I doubt that's going to duplicate itself, especially lately where we've seen Xavier, struggle to break the 60s the last 2 games. They've really shot the ball poorly. These 2 losses against Marquette and Providence, I think Creighton's the side here. Plus 1.5. I think they win the game, but plus 1.5 is a bonus. Give me the Blue Jays here. What do you think here, Conor? Xavier Creighton.
Yeah, I had this circled last night as a game that I liked here with Creighton. Coming off a horrible loss to Butler, a little bit of revenge. And they've been better at home. They've gotten blown out kind of lately on the road. That bad game against Villanova, I watched some of that. Kind of been tale of 2 teams at times as Creighton. I think they play better today. I'd be on them here at the home dog. Just take a money line.
All right, NC State, North Carolina. North Carolina 7-point home favorites, 150 the total. I think it goes over. More than either side. I lean to North Carolina. They're starting to get going. They do play better at home. They're at Chapel Hill at the Dean Dome. there in Chapel Hill. That's where they played their best ball. But more than anything, if you look at these two teams in terms of the front court, there's a big size mismatch in favor of UNC. This is going to be, and so many times their offense is just from missed shots and putbacks and layups and second and third chances, just crashing the glass. They're probably going to be able to do that here today, North Carolina, because they do have a size edge in the low post over NC State. But NC State's, pressing can sometimes force what can be a sloppy North Carolina team into some mistakes, into some turnovers. And if that does happen, NC State's going to get some easy baskets out of it. So I think there's offensive advantages for both of these teams in this game, enough that I think we can maybe get over 150. It's a high total because, NC State does play a little bit helter-skelter. They'll try to speed up the pace a little bit. And North Carolina, Hubert Davis this year, I don't know if they're playing. I think they're playing maybe slightly slower than they did under Roy Williams all those years, but it's not like it's a huge drop off. They're still above average pace, tempo, and I think offensively they're just going to get so many points off missed shots because they're just going to be able to outman and outsize NC State around the rim. So I think it goes over the total. Like I said, offensive advantages for both teams. What do you think here, Conor? Wolfpack, Tar Heels.
Yeah, when these teams can't get going, this one could get over. This is a game that I want nothing to do with. Two teams. I liked NC State a bit at times this year. I don't think they're playing their best basketball. And North Carolina's been tough to figure out. Yeah, they've been better at home, but I don't feel like laying 7.5, 8 with them right here. This was a game that was a quick X for me.
Yeah, I'd lean to the home favorite. I would lean North Carolina -7 if I were to bet the side. Don't love it, but I would lean that way.
Rivalry, though, but yeah. Rivalry game. You always got to watch it.
Absolutely. All right, Arizona State, Arizona. We've got another rivalry game here. Arizona, 21.5-point home favorites, 146 the total in this game. This is a first-half full-game smackdown spot for me with Arizona. I think they're going to absolutely crush this team, and they're going to be certainly getting – Arizona State's going to be getting Arizona in their foulest, angriest mood after a very poor game by their standards. They've had two really bad games this year, Arizona, and not surprisingly, they lost both games. The Tennessee game, and then last week earlier this week against UCLA. I don't know if I've seen the Arizona offense look that bad in a game all year. They just could not get anything to fall. They were totally out of sync at the offensive end of the basketball court. Arizona State's given up like high 70s to the likes of Stanford and Cal in some of their recent games. Could you imagine what an angry Arizona team could do here today? Now, Azuolas Tubelis, who's one of my favorite players on this team, he's terrific. He's missed the last couple. He may not play, but there's still more. I think Mathurin is going to have a much better game. Koloko down low should eat in the low post. So I think Arizona definitely has the wherewithal to really rip this team apart here. I like them first half full. I like the full game over too. I like team total over with Arizona, but I think the full game over can get there too. Because I've got Arizona probably scoring 90 today, honestly. The last time they lost against Tennessee, do you know what they did the last game against Washington? They were, again, another situation where they're off a loss. They're in a mood where they're focused. They're angry. They put up a 95 spot on Washington in the game after the loss against Tennessee. So I think you could get 95 out of Arizona. And if they get to 95, you only need 51, 52 out of Arizona State, and there's your over for the full game. So I do like the full game over 146. The Arizona team total over in the 80s makes sense. And I like the first half full game split as well. Arizona first half is right now minus 12, minus 11.5, minus 12. And of course the full game is minus 21.5. It's a big number and numbers, but this is one spot that I think it's chalk worth laying. I think they put an absolute ass whipping on Arizona State, who, of course, obviously had just a pretty pathetic season so far under Bobby Hurley. You got to wonder how long he's going to keep his job there. What do you think here, Conor?
I don't think he's going to last too much longer there. Yeah, I like Arizona here. I don't know about laying the 21. I think the team total is a better way to go here. I think they take care of business. Arizona State just dealing with too many guys out. The whole program's in disarray. So Arizona, I just go team total before I'd lay it. That's all. I'd rather roll with that than laying the 21.
Yeah, I agree. I think team total, because then you don't have to worry about Arizona State. Arizona State has been a little bit better off. They got out of the gate strong against USC at the offensive end, but then again, they got completely shut down. It's funny. They had a huge lead early, and they didn't even cover the first half line. That's how quickly things fell apart for Arizona State against USC after that hot start in one of their recent games. Indiana, Maryland. Indiana 1.5-point road favorites, 132 the total in this game. There's no doubt in my mind Indiana is the better team. I mean, I don't think there's much doubt at all about that going into this game. But the fact remains, this team on the road from a point spread, they've been very, very difficult to trust in terms of covering numbers on the road. It's been that way again this year. Maryland has won 2 in a row, home against Illinois, on the road at Rutgers, starting to play a little bit better for interim coach Danny Manning after Mark Turgeon left. Keep an eye on the couple injuries, too, by the way, for Indiana. Rob Finney, who's really played well for the Hoosiers lately and, been a catalyst in some games. He's questionable for this game, or is out actually with an ankle injury. So keep an eye on that. That's definitely going to hurt. It's going to put more emphasis on Trace Jackson Davis in this game for Indiana. I mean, Maryland is definitely playing a little bit better. I keep thinking this line's pretty damn cheap on Indiana, but then you start to look at how they've not been covering numbers on the road. It's tough. And I ended up staying away, but if Indiana wins, it wouldn't shock me. I'd bet Indiana before I bet Maryland in this game, but it's probably going to be a stay off. Conor, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I'd be on the other side if I were to bet this game. I'd take Maryland over Indiana. I just don't trust Indiana on the road. They play better at home. It's Trace Jackson Davis is like, he's got to be so big. It's just like him. And especially in these road games, that's where they haven't been able to get it done. It seems short, seems too easy. If you probably look at this, everyone thinks Indiana can take care of business, but I'd only be on Maryland here, and I'd lean a little bit to the under. It's already come down, though, 2.5 points.
All right, we go Virginia Tech, Florida State. Florida State 2.5-point home favorites, 129.5 the total in this game. Virginia Tech kind of been a disappointment lately. I expected good things from them. Now, I know they don't have a lot beyond their is not great, but they've just lost some close ones lately. Boston College, UNC, Miami, 3 straight losses for them. Now they have to play Florida State here that's coming off a loss themselves, 75-61 in their last game. We'll see if they can bounce back here in this matchup. It's tough right now. It's been a really, really big struggle for Virginia Tech here in this game. That's something that definitely is a bother for me. I kind of lean to them here, and keep in mind too, we've got some significant injuries here for Florida State. Malik Osborne, ankle injury, guy that averages 10 points per game, suffered last game against Georgia Tech. He's out for the season. Devastating loss for Florida State. And Caleb Mills as well, who's at 13.4 points per game average this year. He ended up having his night cut short against Georgia Tech, suffering an infection in that game, and he's questionable. So Florida State could be a little bit shorthanded here in this game. I keep thinking this is the ultimate buy low spot on Virginia Tech, so I might be willing to give them a shot here, plus 2.5. I think they're better than they've shown, and they get a Florida State team that's a little vulnerable and a little bit shorthanded today. Any thoughts here, C-Mac?
Yeah, Virginia Tech, this was a tough one. You talked about some of the stuff going on with Florida State. I had this one circled last night. I went through everything. I'm going to wait. I lean Florida State a little bit here at home. I just think they're the better team. So it's a game I haven't played yet.
All right, I'll bring up this one here. Belmont, Tennessee Martin, because there is something I like here. Belmont 22.5-point home favorites, 150.5. This is another over for me. That is what I like here in this game. Belmont should be able to score just a shit ton of points here in this matchup against UT Martin. I'd expect that. Martin has definitely struggled, and we've got series history on our side. We've got 4 of the last 5 meetings have ended up going over the total, and a lot of these games, they were higher totals than what we're seeing here. Many of these totals were in the 150s. This one high 140s. It's now starting to move toward 150. I think it's moving that way for a reason. So I like it over here, UTM and Belmont. Anything here, Conor?
No, I think it could get there, but Belmont could blow them out. They do better with these numbers at home, laying these big numbers. I still don't love doing it. This is something laying, when it starts getting over 20 points with Belmont. They didn't get it done the other night. What was that? Austin P. They covered, but that was on the road, a little bit different. So, yeah, it was a game I passed on.
208 live viewers, by the way. Yes, hit the like button. We appreciate that. Make sure you do that if you haven't done so already. Temple and SMU now. SMU 10-point home favorites, 137 the total in this game. Interesting AAC matchup. We got to give Temple some credit here. They've picked it up. They've played some solid basketball lately in recent games. Deserve credit for that. 4 straight wins for Temple at UCF, home against East Carolina. On the road, they beat Tulsa. Home against Cincinnati as home dogs. They beat them 61-58 in their last game. Solid wins. Now, SMU is better than all of those teams, so this is going to be an even greater challenge for them. But Temple's been, covering these numbers as underdogs lately. I mean, just to remember, at home against Houston, 12.5-point home dogs, they lost by 5 against that terrific Houston Cougars team. I think Temple can hang here. I like SMU a lot. They're certainly very efficient offensively. I like how they've played at the other end of the floor, too, defensively. Very balanced team offensively, and again, solid defensively. But you can't deny the fact that this Temple team, road dogs, underdogs in general, they've been just a cash machine getting points. I like Temple here, plus 10. Ooh, 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 ooh. I think the Temple Owls here in this game definitely can hang in there at plus 10. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, ever since at home losing to Houston by 5, they ripped off 4 straight. They beat Cincinnati the other day. I think 10 might be too many. I like this SMU team. It's just when I start laying these points with them, I never like doing it. It's kind of like Memphis, but SMU is better than Memphis. I'd lean over a little bit too. I don't know why. SMU, I think they could score a little bit. I think it could get over the total. Just a lean.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both are trending under, but I hear what you mean. Seems pretty low. Seems pretty low though for this matchup because
SMU is usually in the 140s. That's why I mentioned it. Yeah,
exactly. I agree. I mean, I think they've lowered it just a little bit. All right, well, minute away. We'll bring Conor in here. We'll get one more game in before we bring him on. Oklahoma State, Florida. We've got Florida 3-point home favorites, 132 the total in this one. I'm always their favorite. I mean, I'm just not a big fan of Mike White. I'm not a fan of this team and their lack of consistency. They've had some horrible losses this year, and they've had some solid performances as well. And we'll give them credit for, what they did against Tennessee for a large part of it. Great first half. Unfortunately, same old shit in the second half. Just can't find a way to close the deal. They do cover as 10-point dogs at Tennessee, but they lose 78-71. It's just been frustrating all year from this Florida team. Now they're at home here, laying points in this Big 12 SEC Challenge matchup. And Oklahoma State, for the most part lately, the win against Baylor, win against TCU, win against Texas. They only lost by 5 at Texas. They lose by 3 in overtime in their last game against Iowa State. Oklahoma State, we've been looking to see signs of that team that made that incredible run through the tournament last year. And obviously there's no Cade this year on this year's group, but they're getting better. They're improving as the season goes on, which doesn't surprise me. Boynton's a solid coach. Seem to continuously stub their toe. When the game's close, you cannot count on this team to find a way to pull through. And that continues to be the concern that I have for them. It's also concerning is the injuries and the absences are mounting a little bit, including, of course, Castleton is the huge loss for them. Left shoulder injury, and he's out indefinitely. That's 15.4 points, 9.1 rebounds per game out of your lineup. That's significant here. So, the money's come in on Oklahoma State, and I have no argument with it whatsoever, Connor. It's hard to trust Florida. What do you think?
I can't trust Florida. Mike White. I think this. When I see this game, I just screams like, "Stay the f away!" Stay the fuck away. Just like There's so many games on the board today. The last thing I want to do is be laying numbers right now with Florida, even at home. So it's pass.
There it is. All right, it is time to bring on our resident college basketball guru here at Pub Sports Radio because he eats, sleeps, and breathes. You name it, college basketball year-round. Here he is. He's my fellow Canadian, Maxwell Smart, in the house for the first time on a Saturday edition of the Net Profit Show. Maxwell, my man, how are you?
Ian, Connor, it's nice to see you guys early in the morning like this. Usually my appearances are reserved for a special crowd, but the pubbers are that special crowd today. I'm ready to fuck with my eyes open. I'm ready to put out the cupcake business and take it over. And of course, I'm never going to dip my chicken tender in honey mustard, so neither should you.
All right, there we go. It is those chicken tenders. You can never pass them up, and you got to respect them when Maxwell is on the show. That is for sure. All right, Max. I know on the Monday to Friday show with Conor, you got the games you like, and you want to talk about them. And of course, Maxwell Smart is about as good as it gets when it comes to the mid-major. A lot of the added board games. That's his specialty. Max, we'll let you have the floor. What's one of the games you like today?
Yeah, listen, I think that when I go to this added board, which is where I want to make my money today, Ian, is a conference that's had pretty much every game canceled that was scheduled for today, except for possibly one. And if Mount St. Mary plays their game today, can we not find a more dominant mid-major team that has completely turned it around, that no one's talking about it? Dan Ingolstadt has his team freaking just purring like a perfectly prime king of the freaking jungle. And I'll tell you, Ian, Jalen Benjamin is going to have a big game today. The Mount at home are a different animal. The offense is picked up. I think that this is a spot where the Mount is going to win this game, and they're going to win this game by multiple freaking buckets. When I bet this game at 8, and that's what I'm going to give out on the show. I think that when we look at this Mount St. Mary team, their home play is the difference here, and taking them at -8 at +120, we take away the VIG, and we get a little freaking extra for ourselves, Buy yourself a chicken tender combo at Popeyes. Let's get it. You're on mute, Ian.
Mount St. Mary's, -6 against St. Francis, Pennsylvania. I agree. Look at this team when you look at what they've done so far. I mean, 6 straight point spread covers, 5-1 straight up. I remember I was so desperately wanting to see the Bryant Bulldogs get in the tournament last year, and it was Mount St. Mary's that ended up ending those dreams for them. I'm so upset by that, but they earned it. They frustrated Bryant in that game, that NEC championship game. I remember it very well. Slow start this year, obviously, terrible start to the season. But once again, Max is doing something that you really should be looking at. You got to separate college basketball into 2 seasons. There's teams that absolutely stink in non-conference play. They're absolutely horrible, and they end up turning it around in conference play. They're undervalued, and they go on a point spread run. Missouri, for example, has done that. And now look at the same thing here with Mount St. Mary's. The Mount is just putting money in your pockets right now. 6 straight covers, going for a 7th straight today. Conor, did you have any thoughts on that game?
No, I love it. I love the play, Max. It's already I had one I had circled from last night. I agree with it. I got to get to one thing. We missed it. I think we were just too going. Shout out to our guy, Jake the Snake Kaiser, with the $5 dono. Says, great sports weekend. Let's get it, boys. Shout out to my guy, Jake Kaiser. Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the dono. But let's get back to it. Let's fire off as much as you can. I'm going to be right back.
Connor. Jay Kaiser's asking a question about what time the Mount St. Mary game is. That's a 5 p.m. Eastern game.
Yeah, you got time. Yeah, it's a late afternoon tip. There you go. 5 p.m. Eastern. Absolutely.
Sounds good. I just wanted to get his dono. Shout out.
All right, good stuff. There we go. All right, so we'll get another game from Max, then we'll talk about one of the main board games, then we'll get Max's next game, that kind of pattern. Max, we'll give you another game here. What else do you like?
Yeah, listen, I think that when we look at USC Upstate, this is a team that has just been benefiting your bankroll. They are playing fantastically in this underdog role, and once again, I'm looking to back them and keep on the gravy train when it comes to USC Upstate. They have their coach now. There is no remote coaching or any kind of weird stuff like that going on. The program is rebounding. Dalvin White is a difference maker, and with him having the outlier performance last time out, I think that he is going to elevate his game once again today on the road. First, a North Carolina A&T team that has Colin Smith, the 6'11" UCF transfer, rolling right now. I don't think that it's going to be enough to stop them and their dribble drive penetration. I'm looking for USC Upstate to stay in this game, stay within 6 points, if not win.
All right, there we go. All right, Upstate, USC Upstate taking on North Carolina A&T in that one. Max is liking the Upstate side. 20th in the country, by the way, from the perimeter. They're a terrific three-point shooting team. And guess who struggles to defend the perimeter? Oh, yeah, North Carolina A&T. That's who.
Yeah.
So you talk about matchup advantage, 234 in terms of three-point defense in the country, efficiency or lack of it when you're 234th for North Carolina A&T. So there we go, upstate to get the job done there. All right, let's go to one of our regular games. We'll get another game from Max next up, but we'll continue on the main games, the highlighted games today on the slate. Let's go to Baylor and Alabama next up. Baylor 3.5 point road favorites, 150.5 being the total in this game. It's really, really hard to get pinpoint this Alabama team one game to the next. They've been all over the place this year. I mean, they have the win against LSU at home. They beat Florida on the road. They have a great home win against Tennessee. And then they also have these really ugly losses like at Georgia in their last game, 82-76, 14.5 point favorites, lose the game outright. Just how does that happen if you're Alabama? They lose to Mississippi State. They lose at Missouri earlier this year. So they've just been all over the place. Baylor on the other side, they had a couple losses there, stubbed their toe against Tech and Oklahoma State back-to-back games. They've reeled off 3 straight wins and 3 straight covers going into this game. Keep an eye on some injury situations here for, in fact, both of these teams when you look at it. On the Alabama side, you've got Darius Miles out for this game with a knee injury. Jawan Gary questionable, facial injury, 6.8 points per game. Nice. We've been looking at whether he's going to play one game to the next. He was held out of the last game for Baylor. We'll see if he's able to play here today. Questionable right now with a back injury. I don't know. It kind of feels like Bama 3.5 point home dog, buy low spot potentially. But boy, they've just had some issues. I lean Alabama, but boy, they're just so flighty for me. I don't know if I can actually pull the trigger. Max, did you have a thought on that one? Baylor, Alabama.
Yeah, listen, I think that when I look at Baylor, this is a game that they're going to be able to get up for from an offensive perspective. I think that they can score just like Alabama can, but from a defensive perspective, how they take away the middle is going to be key. With this Alabama team, we know that they won't shoot the mid-range, so that will force them out to the 3. And if it's not dropping, Baylor could make quick work of Alabama even on the road. I think that taking Baylor first half is the best way for me to go about going on the game, because I want to see how the matchup is, what the flow and tempo is, and then obviously you got tons of live betting time, and I love to live bet against Gus because he's a piece of shit.
I love it. All right, so there you go, Baylor, Alabama in that one. We've lost Conor Mack, but we'll get him back in just a second. All right, Max, let's get back to the added board and one of the looks that you have for this Saturday card.
Yeah, listen, I think that I got to take a favorite that is getting steamed right now. They're a road favorite, but they are a dominant conference team, and they are the Norfolk State Spartans. Talk about a team that fucks with their eyes open. I love this MEAC team because they are deep. Christian Ings, you got Joe Bryant, Jalen Hawkins, Chris Bankston up front. This is a team that is built to play in March. And I think that Norfolk against South Carolina State, while I do like TJ Matlock, the coach's son, and what this team is doing, this is just, you're punching at too high of a clip. You're going to get knocked out. With the line right now, I want to take Norfolk first half just to freaking make sure that I'm not getting killed too much on closing line value. And if you can get 4, I think that's the way to play it.
There you go, like in the road favorite there, Norfolk State, the Spartans against South Kakalaki State in that one. Norfolk State, they have been rolling here in this conference. You look at it, 5 straight wins, 4-0-1 against the spread in those 5 games. They've taken care of business. They're such a very efficient team offensively. That's the one thing that stands out. 45.7 for the entire season, their field goal percentage. It's a high level of offensive efficiency right there for Norfolk State. So that might be too much here for South Carolina State here in this one. Hit that like button, by the way. 228 live viewers. Hit the like button. We've got a special thing planned for everybody in the chat if we hit that 100 mark. So make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Crystal in the chat asking, Max, do you like the over in that Norfolk State game?
Absolutely. I've already bet the over in that game. So in that spot, I took the over 143.5, and I had the first half over 67.5, and I paid juice for it.
All right, there we go. Awesome stuff. Conor, you're back with us. You weren't with us for Baylor, Alabama. Did you have any opinion on that game?
No, I don't. I don't. I'm off that game. I'm a big Baylor backer. It's a difficult spot here. I want to talk about the Norfolk game, Max. I agree with you there. I think that, but I like the upstate one real quick before that you mentioned, the 6. Even the games that they had lost previously, I mean, they hadn't had a bad loss since Ohio, because when I was going through stuff last night. So Norfolk I like, but I know they're laying 5, like you mentioned. If you could get under, that would be better. But I love the upstate play, as you mentioned just a little bit ago.
Well, that makes me feel better, and that would definitely make Dr. Mandy feel better, because she's trying to get some of my money on a Saturday.
What?
Absolutely. There we go. There's the big news. Guess what, guys? You guys get a chance to win some of Pub Sports money just by being here in the chat for you. A chance to win $100. There you go. 2 winners. Just typed in the hashtag net profit. No, not We Be Pubbing today, Paulie. It's hashtag net profit. That's the line you got to use. Hashtag net profit. All you got to do is type it into the chat, and we will award $100 to 2 very lucky winners in our chat for this net profit show. So make sure you take
baby.
for that.
Pub Sports Radio. Shout out to Pub Sports Radio. Slaughter. Who else is out there doing this, baby? Come on. Nobody.
Yep. Thanks to the man that makes this channel go, Jeff Slaughter, behind the scenes, giving you this opportunity. So take advantage of it. Hashtag net profit right now in the chat.
Just posting for the hashtag. That was funny.
I posted the hashtag and said, just post this hashtag. I wasn't posting for myself.
Yep. I love it, though.
Look at the chat filling up with hashtag net profit. See, money makes the world go round. You better believe it. That's living proof right there, no doubt. All right, we'll continue along now on the breakdowns here. We got St. John's, Villanova. Villanova 13-point home favorites, 142.5 the total in this one. You know, there's games where I think, wow, St. John's, like when they beat down Seton Hall earlier this week on the road, games like that where I say, you know what, maybe they can hang with Villanova here. Remember, they played UConn on the road. They also hung tough in that game, lost in overtime, had every opportunity to win. Villanova's destroyed DePaul in their last game, 67-43, and beat Georgetown on the road, 85-74. You know, I don't know if this matchup has stylistically been all that great for St. John's in the past. They did have the one win at home last year against Villanova, but other than that, Villanova's gotten double-digit wins in 3 of the last 4 meetings between these two teams. That being said, we have seen Villanova, you know, at home even, you know, stubbed their toe a couple times, including the Marquette game just recently, 57-54 as double-digit home favorites. In fact, this team has double-digit home favorites. They've been hit or miss throughout the course of the year. I'm kind of interested in the St. John's side, but it's not easy considering, you know, they've had some ugly performances as well the last few against Villanova. I still lean to the dog just a little bit. Conor, any thoughts here? Big East matchup, St. John's, Villanova.
Yeah, Villanova has these unreal games where they just can lock down and they don't seem to miss a shot, especially at home, and they win by 30 or more. I just think St. John's just has the shitters on the road, like you just talked about, where they can get beat by 20. But I think they have enough players here to maybe hang around. I haven't bet it yet. I was staring at this last night. I want to dig in a little more, but I think it might be just too much here. I mean, we're getting to 13.5. That's a lot of points. So I'm with you. I lean St. John's a tad bit. I haven't bet it yet, though.
Yeah, and they still have these offensive issues at times, Villanova as well. That's another thing you got to factor in.
And St. John's can score. I mean, they have their struggles defensively, but, you know, they can fill the bucket. They have athletes that, you know, so that's why it's interesting.
It is, definitely. Max, did you have a thought on this one?
Yeah, when I look at my trusty line sheet, which you got to have prepared for on a big Saturday like this to stay organized, I had this game as being an over. You know, I had this game hitting the 145 to 147 range, and I think that when you look at this St. John's team, you know, this is their one opportunity to try and show Villanova that, yeah, I deserve to be called a contender for the Big East title. Well, I don't think that they are. I don't think that they're going to be. I think Villanova walks all over them, and I think that the game goes over.
All right, there you go. Liking the favorite, but liking the over more than anything.
Sure.
Maxwell for the St. John's Villanova game. All right, Max, back to you with one of your added board specials. What do you like?
Yeah, listen, I think that when I look at a game that I really want to see a route in and I want to back a team total, I got to look at Southeast Louisiana. Coming off a terrible game against Texas A&M Corpus Christi at home, I think that they're in a perfect get-right situational spot. This is a team that has been regularly able to score over 80 points against some of these bottom feeders. I think while Incarnate Word is going to try and slow the game down, I do think that Gus Okafor, Keon Clergeot and company, Ryan Burkhart from 3 are going to do their damage, do their work, get this situation right, and score and win this game. So the team total is what I think has the best value, over 79.5 Southeast Louisiana team total.
All right, there we go. Team total. And I like doing that in games like this where it's a bigger favorite, double-digit favorite, because then you don't have to you just worry about the team doing what you expect them to do offensively because you feel they've got the matchup advantages there, and then you don't have to worry about what they do defensively or what if anything they give up to Incarnate Word in this type of situation. So that's where the kind of like Arizona State, Arizona. We're pretty damn sure Arizona is going to light it up and just rip apart Arizona State defensively. But so maybe you prefer the team total there as opposed to laying the points or say a full game over. Conor, did you have any thoughts there?
I think that's a pretty good look, Max. I mean, instead of laying the 12 here, Incarnate Word is just, they struggle to get to 60. I think that's the way to go instead of going, this game full game, because I don't know if the full game could get over at 147.5. So I lean it. I like it. I haven't bet it. Me and Incarnate Word are just not the word. The bird is not the word with me. Then.
You're incompatible. That's right, with Incarnate Word for Conor Mack with that team. All right, let's go back to the Big East or Big 12 SEC Challenge at Mississippi State, Texas Tech. Texas Tech 7.5 point home favorites, 132.5 being the total in this game. Texas Tech in the grind of the Big 12, coming off just a gut-wrenching loss to Kansas. I mean, they come all the way back. They look like they're going to be losing that game decisively. Then they make that incredible rally in the second half. They end up falling short 94-91 in overtime in that game. So a tough one. And now you're going to try to bounce back from that against Mississippi State. They're also coming off their own disappointing, tough overtime loss against Kentucky in their last game. I'm interested in maybe taking the points here with Mississippi State. I love the Red Raiders. Don't get me wrong. They've been terrific this year. There's no question about that. A really good basketball team, and certainly they've gotten everybody healthy, including Terrence Shannon recently. That has helped. They've been terrific against the number. They're laying 7.5 here. Mississippi State has been, for the most part, competitive in every recent game between these two teams. I could see this being more of the same, a tight, competitive game. This is one game where I think the underdog's capable of matching up well. The one thing I look at with Mississippi State here is, they gave up 82, albeit in overtime to Kentucky, but I've been very impressed with them at the offensive end of the basketball court. Certainly in the last game, you look at the way Iverson Molinar played. He was just amazing. Man possessed 13 of 21, 30 points in that game. We'll be able to follow that up here against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Very good defensive team. Just think this is one of those closer games. I lean to the Bulldogs here, getting the 7.5. Conor, any thoughts on this one? Mississippi State and Texas Tech.
Yeah, I like Texas Tech a lot. I just don't like this number, my dreaded 7.5. I think Mississippi State could hang around in it. And I always like it under, but I think the total's pretty low here. I think it's pretty sharp at 132.5, so I passed here.
All right, Max.
Yeah, for this game, I'm definitely not looking to back Texas Tech. I just think that this is a spot that is just too many points for them.
There you go. Yeah, I feel that way too, and I feel we're getting to the point now where Texas Tech they're going to be overvalued at some point. You're going to start probably seeing the point spread get too large for them. Because they've had so many big wins and their power rating's gone up so quickly. This could be one of those spots, in my opinion. All right, Max, on that buffet menu of yours, what's next up?
Yeah, listen, I think that we got to go back to freaking the MEAC conference. We have a game that definitely is not going to be sexy, but for any of you international viewers, you're going to be able to easily access this game. What I've seen from Maryland Eastern Shore is a team that has very improved three-point shooting and very good on-ball perimeter defense. I think that they're in a perfect situation to deal with a Coppin State team that, while we have expected them to up their scoring tempo, they have done that. It just hasn't looked very pretty. And unless Nende Tarke goes off for a huge game today, I think that Maryland Eastern Shore is a live dog at 8 points. So that's the way I'm backing Maryland Eastern Shore. Good three-point shooting, good on-ball defense, and a big number for a team that isn't that good.
Coppin State, and I've bet them over at times earlier this year and last year. And there's been times I've lost games, and you know why they do stay under in their games? That when they do stay under, they play extremely fast. They're third in the country in tempo. But what's good is that when more than 50% of your possessions are ending in a turnover or a missed shot. That's the problem with Coppin State. And I've seen this shit with them so many times in the, this season, last year. I've gotten over because I think, man, this team's playing lightning fast. They're not great defensively, but they can't make a goddamn shot to save their lives half the time. And that always ends up being what ends up costing you. So you're right. So that's the one thing. We can look at pace, but inefficiency can trump the pace.
Yeah.
Time. And that's an issue a lot with Coppin State. Did you have anything there, Connor?
I lean with Eastern Shore as the dog here, and I know you said it. The shots might not drop, but if I were to bet on this, I didn't bet the total. I'd take the over.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we'll go back now to the main board. Here's a good one now. Next up, Kentucky and Kansas. We've got Kansas 5.5-point home favorites, 152.5 the total in this game. Kansas here at home, coming off the win against Texas. Both these teams won at home in overtime their last game. Kentucky against Mississippi State, Kansas against Texas Tech. Now they'll meet up here in a Big 12 SEC Challenge matchup. When you look at the last couple of meetings, they've actually the last few years they've played each other multiple times. We've got Kansas actually 4-1 straight up in the last 5 head-to-head meetings versus Kentucky. When you look at it for the Kentucky side, obviously you've got to look at what they're dealing with from an injury standpoint. Ty Washington, ankle injury, missed the last game due to that, questionable for this game. You've got Jacob Toppin as well, dealing with an ankle injury, left the game against Mississippi State because of that. He's questionable. My first glance, was Kentucky, but with the injury situation, we're not sure if they're getting either of these two guys back for after the game against Mississippi State. Now you got to go on the road. It's a little bit tricky. At the same point in time, we've seen Kansas on their home floor this year. They let Texas Tech back into the game. They let Iowa State back into the game. They've had these moments here at Fog Allen where they've been up comfortably and the defense has lapsed and they've let teams back into games. That's the worry I have. If Kentucky was healthier, I'd take Kentucky plus the points in what I think would be a close game. But I think they're too banged up here for me to pull the trigger. I got to know specifically if Washington and Toppin going to end up playing, and I'm not sure that's the case. Going to put a lot more on Xavier Wheeler's plate. It's going to put a lot more on Kellen Grady's plate. That's the case. So again, Kentucky, I'd take them if they were healthier, but I'm not sure they're going to be anything more than quite a bit shorthanded today. Max, we'll start with you here. A great matchup, Kentucky-Kansas.
Yeah, listen, I think that the biggest thing obviously is the injury issue for Kentucky, but with their three-point shooting being very found and traveling also, we've already seen them come from behind on the road and get a win. I think that they're going to be able to stay in this game against Kansas. David McCormick's going to have a special game for Kansas to win this game by 2 3-point buckets or more.
Yeah, I was leaning all the way toward taking the points here. I just wish we were a little bit clearer on the injury spots for Kentucky, but I'd still take the points before laying it with Kansas right now. And again, Kansas coming off a thrilling overtime win at home, surviving against Texas Tech. Not exactly a premium spot for them. Conor, what do you think here?
Yeah, I think both teams, are dealing with a few injuries. Obviously, Kentucky a little bit more. I'm going to wait on that, but too many points. I thought this was, if I got over 4, I'd be on Kentucky. So I get 5.5. I got to take it. I haven't been too impressed with Kansas all year. I mean, they're definitely a good basketball team, but I don't know if they're Final Four, if they're that good this year. So I got to take Kentucky in the point too. I'd lean under a little bit. I think the total's a bit high.
Yeah, it should be a pretty intense matchup, so the under might end up getting there as a result. Should be an interesting game there for sure. All right, Max, next up on the list of goodies for us, what do you got?
Yeah, listen, this is a game that's obviously already been steamed, and that is Arkansas Pine Bluff and Mississippi Valley State. The under's been steamed, and the side has been steamed in favor of Arkansas Pine Bluff. I still think that there is value taking a first half under. It's been a pretty good go-to play with this Mississippi Valley State team. Right now, you're going to be able to get a line in the range of 68 to 67 and a half. If you do take either of those numbers, I think that those are numbers that can stay under. Without Rob Carpenter, this Mississippi Valley State team has a lot more trouble scoring. And by the move, I have to assume, without lineup information at this time, that he is not going to be in the lineup once again. And that is first half under city for me.
All right, there you go. First half under there with Mississippi Valley State in that game. Good stuff from Maxwell Smart. I'm going to throw one out there right now that I'm interested in. Haven't bet it yet, but I've got my eye on it, and that's over 142 between Hofstra and NC Wilmington. I think we got a chance for that maybe to get over the total. I think that one looks a little bit low, at least from a Hofstra standpoint, when you look at that, where that total is currently right now. When you look at Wilmington, they've slowed their pace down a little bit, but they're still not exactly very good at the defensive end of the basketball court either. 289 3-point percentage defense, which isn't great. Speedy Claxton, I think, has done a solid job here with Hofstra. Of course, Joe Mihalik was the coach for a long time there, stepped down, health reasons, and among other things. So Speedy Claxton took over. Has done a solid job with Hofstra, always known for being a very, very solid offensive team. They've been that way for years. Total seems just a little bit low in that one with Hofstra and Wilmington, so I kind of like over 142 in that game. Conor, did you have a thought on it?
I lean over a tad bit in the game as well, but I like this Hofstra team, but I think these last few games, now they're saying you got to win by 5 or more. I'll dare them to. I'll take Wilmington, who's been red hot as well. People thought they'd bounce that second one to Northeastern. I don't think so. I think Wilmington at home, it's just too many points with this team playing solid basketball right now. Well, I think, I could get over. I definitely like the points.
I agree. Home dog might be live here. They've been on a point spread machine. 9 straight covers for Wilmington. In conference play, they've been lights out. They've been putting money in your pocket every time. Elon beat them. Charleston beat them. James Madison beat them. Towson, a very good team in this conference, beat them. And I took them against Northeastern in the first meeting on the road earlier this week. I stayed off them in the second meeting because it was a short turnaround revenge spot. And it was close. They were laying 4, but they got the win by 5, Wilmington, and still got the win in cover. You just can't step in front of this team right now. The Seahawks have got it rolling at the moment. Max, did you have an opinion on Hofstra Wilmington?
Yeah, Ian, this is a spot where it's one of the rare spots that I bet overnight on the main board. I took Wilmington +5. When I saw that pop up on sportbet.com, I was like, you suckers. You guys not know what's going on with the Seahawks team.
I know.
Jalen Sims is the man, Connor, and they keep on making this team a dog, yet who's the top dog in the conference? Does that not count for anything? Well, Wilmington's going to cash for us, boys.
I agree.
There you go. Wilmington +4.5 here in this one against Hofstra between these two teams. UAB Marshall, I want to bring that one up. It's a good one in Conference USA. UAB 9-point road favorites, 152.5 the total in this one. I get a sneaking suspicion this could be a spot Marshall really steps up and makes this game very interesting. UAB, Andy Kennedy's done a terrific job. There's no denying that whatsoever with UAB. A very good basketball team, balanced at both ends, good offensively and defensively. Marshall, it's been a struggle for them. The one thing about Marshall is they've lost, their share of close games as of late. North Texas, they lost by 4, and that's a very good team in this conference. Middle Tennessee, last game, they had a comfortable lead most of that game. They ended up losing at 81-79. Of course, this team, offensively, they play at a very fast pace. Defensively, it's where the issues have been for Marshall this year. They're giving up 76 points per game, 44% shooting, 34% from three-point range. There's a huge gap in these two teams and their ability to defend. There's no denying that whatsoever. Just get that sense, though, it could be a little bit of a competitive game here, though, between these two here with this one. You've got UAB that's coming off a big road win, couple of road wins in a row against Louisiana Tech and Western Kentucky. And they're coming on the road now for playing a second road game in 3 days and their third consecutive. You don't see that very often. Third consecutive road game here for the Blazers. So, it's kind of feel like Marshall might be a spot where they can hang in there. And like I say, a lot of their games have been of the close variety. I kind of lean a little bit to the home dog here, the Thundering Herd. I know it's been kind of a disappointment from them, but it's not exactly a great scheduling spot for UAB. Not many college teams play 3 games in a row on a road in a short period of time like this, and that's what UAB's got here in this one. Max, did you have a thought on this one, UAB Marshall? Also throw out North Texas and Louisiana Tech at you. That's another very good game in Conference USA today.
Yeah, listen, I think that these are definitely tougher games because Marshall's on a 10-game losing streak right now. Not being able to shut down not being able to close out that Middle Tennessee game, I think that's going to hurt them really early in this game. I personally think that the numbers on point, the way that I would attack would be first half with UAB. And from the Louisiana Tech game, something that's been working for me all year, and regardless of opponents, I've been very stubborn about it, is Louisiana Tech first half. I want to see Kenneth Lofton stay out of foul trouble. I want to see Kenneth Lofton be able to use that brilliant ballerina-like footwork on the low block. And if he's able to freaking score early and stay on the floor, Louisiana Tech usually wins first halves at home, especially at this number. They got to bring their best against North Texas. If they do, I think they continue that streak.
All right, there we go. Conor, any thoughts on this game? Or how about North Texas, Louisiana Tech, Conor? Did you have I kind of lean to the dog there. I always am interested in Grant McCaslin's team as an underdog, and I know Louisiana Tech is a very good team on their home floor today. I'm leaning Mean Green in that one. Did you have any thoughts on the 2C USA games?
Yeah, real quick. I just don't trust Marshall. They're just goddamn losers. I mean, I don't know. I need a few, they might have got some covers, but, they just can't win a basketball game. I need double digits, so 9 wasn't enough there. This game is very interesting to me. Loft, you're key on that, Max. Like, if he's in foul trouble, they're just done. I just don't have enough around them. North Texas grinds this. This was automatic under for me last night, whatever it was, 126.5. And I think North Texas, I'd lean to them with the points a little bit if I were a bet aside.
All right, Tennessee, Texas now. Another good one in the Big 12 SEC Challenge matchups today. Texas, 3.5-point home favorites, 126 the total in this one. Tennessee, obviously, they survived. I wouldn't say they played great against Florida, certainly not offensively early in that game. They were getting ripped apart, but they dug in. They did they did defend better in the second half, and they ended up coming back, beating Florida 78-71 in that game. I still don't trust this team on the road. You look at them, away from home. They beat Vanderbilt, big deal. They got trounced by Kentucky on the road. They ended up losing to Alabama by 5 on the road as well. This Tennessee team, certainly, very capable defensively. And I think offensively, they've been a little bit better at times this year, but not a team I'm really ready to trust one game to the next. When you look at it, they got crushed by Villanova early in the year, lost on a neutral to Texas Tech. Going now to play Texas at home, not an easy ask. And, you wondered if Texas was going to really get going because they went through the early part of January, lost 3 of 4. But they played a lot better the last 2 games, beating Oklahoma State, crushing TCU in their last game. Just don't have a whole lot of confidence necessarily for Tennessee on the road. And I trust Chris Beard a lot more than I trust Rick Barnes. That's really the gist of it when it's all said and done. So the money's come in on Texas. I do side with that home favorite here. The Longhorns laying the 3.5 in this one. Max, did you have anything for Vols and Longhorns?
Yeah, listen, this is a game that I'm completely staying away from. If I do anything, it's going to be a live bet on the underdog in the second half.
All right, good stuff, Conor. Tennessee, Texas.
Yep, I didn't want anything to do with this either. Tennessee, I'd lean Texas. I just don't trust Tennessee on the road. We see this Tennessee team just start to play like shit every year this time of year. They just, slowly get in. They'll be set 8 seed in the tournament. I lean under with these defenses, but, obviously low total here, 126.
All right. I believe we are ready I'm hearing we're ready to do our first draw for the 2 winners of $100. Anyone that sent in the hashtag net profit in our chat, we're going to do the first random draw for $100 right now. Here we go. Brrr, what do you do? A little drum roll. Here we go. Look at that. It's like Wheel of Fortune here. I love it. There it is. Big 1051. You are a winner, my friend. $100 coming your way. Congratulations, Big 1051. To claim the $100, all you got to do is DM the Pub Sports Radio Twitter account with your Cash App account information, and we will make sure you get that $100 sent to you. Congratulations, Big 1051. We appreciate it.
Look
we'll
at that.
Another
cash money just for showing up.
Yep.
Just coming on
money.
Here. Yeah.
There you
Conor,
go.
doesn't that get you hyped? I'm like, shit, I want to start yelling and jumping around. It's like, yo, we give away money and we're trying to give away winners.
I know. I love it.
Absolutely. Congrats to Big 1051. We'll have another draw coming up, probably about 10, 15 minutes when we wrap up the show.
Yeah, one more.
At the end. So we'll do one more in about 10 minutes or so when we wrap things up. Maxwell, let's go back to you with one of your looks. What else are you looking at today?
Yeah, listen, I think that when I look at the Lipscomb North Florida game, I'm waiting for Lipscomb to snap out of this streak of just pitiful play. That's the only freaking way I can describe it. Just pitiful. You got a wonderful freaking big man in Asadula who can literally facilitate your offense from the low block, from the high post. It's like, come on, man. Like, let's get this 3-point shooting back on track. I think that Lipscomb and North Florida, and let's not freaking short North Florida, they are playing better basketball. I think that we're getting 71 points in the first half. I think that it's over City, and that's the way that I'm riding. I'm thinking that both these guys bring out the guns. They don't like each other. The coaches, they don't really care that much for each other, and that's a new thing. I think that it's going to be fireworks from the get-go.
All right, there we go. It's always something to look at with Lipscomb. We know what they've been like for years, and it's really carried over, too, even after Casey Alexander left for Belmont. You know, more of a team that we think of as a team that's better at the offensive end for sure. What do you think here? Any thoughts here, Conor?
No. I give Max good luck. I hope he wins. I'd lean North Florida a tad bit at home. Small home favorite, but I don't like it.
All right, can we trust anybody here this next game? Wake Forest and Syracuse. Wow, Syracuse especially. Now the 2-point home favorites, 153 being the total in this one. Very interesting line move because, you know, Wake Forest opened road favorites. Now Syracuse slightly favored at home, even though the Syracuse team has been really a dumpster fire here. 3 of the last 4, other than beating Clemson at home. They lost at home to Florida State. They got trounced by Duke, destroyed by Pitt on the road, 64-53. Jim Boeheim saying we need to worry about doing the old Jim Morrow. We got to win a game, never mind the tournament. That's where his mind is at right now. Wake Forest, on the other hand, the Steve Forbes hire, I said the moment it happened, he's going to get Wake Forest turned around. He had a lot of work to do with Danny Manning leaving it in the ditch, and 4 straight wins, 4 straight covers. I love watching this team execute offensively. They're a terrific offensive team. I like what he's done in terms of bringing Jake LaRavia has been a huge deal, bringing him in as a transfer in the offseason. He's given them a great deal at the offensive end. They've got Alondis Williams, Dallas Walton. It's just a lot to like with this team. Mucius. This is a very, very well-balanced inside-out attack that they've got, Wake Forest. I don't know. Until I see Syracuse stop somebody, I'm not sure I'm ready to trust them. The 2-3 zone, this ain't your same old zone. You would think Wake might have trouble stylistically, matchup-wise, with the 2-3 zone, but it's not been that same Syracuse, staunch, tough, strong defensive 2-3 zone this year. So, to me, this would be a look to the over or a Wake team total over. If I were to bet it. Max, did you have anything here with Wake and the Cuse?
Yeah, listen, I think that with Wake Forest, I love the fact that Alondis Williams has this opportunity to be the number 1 scoring option on a team, and we're seeing outlier after outlier performance. The way that he does not settle for the jump shot is a good thing because he doesn't have that good of a jump shot, but when he can get inside against a team, he can be very dangerous against this zone. That's a different story. So I think Wake Forest is going to have to change their approach and shoot over it and make shots. If they're able to do that, then yeah, for sure. But it's not a game that I'm looking to bet pregame. I'm looking to bet that live.
Yeah, something maybe you want to see, because you're right. I agree with that. The matchup may not be the greatest for Wake, and that does concern me. And of course, betting markets may be seeing that as well. Syracuse taking money, but again, Syracuse, you talk about disappointing. They have been that. Can they finally turn it around here? Connor, did you have anything for Wake and Syracuse?
I don't. I passed on it. This one's been difficult. Syracuse, they put in these totals high. They've gone under in 5 of 6. Wake can score. Will the shots drop with the zone? I don't know. I like nothing about this one. So I pass. I'm off it.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. It's tough to trust Syracuse. I still lean Wake. I still believe they're just better at this moment. Certainly, I like the job Forbes has done, but you're right. It can be a little bit tricky here to trust them in this game. Where's that matchup that I was looking at? It's gone up. It's already gone up, the total on this one. There's a whack game. Idaho, Montana State. Montana State 15-point home favorites, 149. Just bring this up because I like the over. It was one of the early bets I made. I agree. Idaho's terrible defensively. They do play fast. Montana State, Danny Sprinkle, one of my favorite names of coaches in college basketball. If you've been sprinkling some money on Montana State and or overs this year, you've been doing quite well. I like the way this team executes offensively. I think it gets over that number. Max, did you have a thought there? Idaho, Montana State.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the over is the spot. I had this game in the 150s, so I like it any number under 151.
Yeah, I agree. I think we see points there. Connor, any thoughts?
I agree with you guys. Clean sweep. I lean to the over as well in that one. I think Montana State can take care of business as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of points, but I wouldn't want Idaho.
It is.
I'll tell you that right now. I would not want the Idaho side in that game. All right, Max, let's give you one of your games. What else do you like?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to go back to the A-Sun, and I think that when we look at a spot that is a little sneaky, I got to look at Central Arkansas and Jacksonville. With Central Arkansas, the progression that Darius Hall has taken this year is making a huge difference for this team early on. And if he's assertive, I do think that +6 on a first half play with Central Arkansas is just a go-to play. This team is getting off to good starts. They're not settling for jump shots. They're getting inside. They're getting to the free throw line. They're doing the fundamental things correct. And while I don't expect them to win this game, I do expect them to challenge. And we've seen Jacksonville have to make some halftime adjustments. And if you can speed them up early, you can build a little bit of a cushion that you may end up blowing in the second half. That's the way I look at Central Arkansas. I think +6 on the first half is definitely a solid way to go about it.
There we go. Central Arkansas there. First half look for Max in that one. Yeah, everybody type in #net profit in the chat. Your last chance. We're going to do the draw in like 5 minutes because we're going to wrap up the show pretty soon. #net profit in the chat. Make sure you're entered into that second and final draw for $100 to some lucky winner in the chat. So make sure you get on that for sure. Max, we'll give I've gotten through. I was going to bring up Stanford UCLA, but I don't really have a strong opinion. It is one of the bigger Pac-12 games today, the late night games, but I don't have a strong opinion on it. I just don't want to step in front of UCLA right now. They've got their home crowd back. They're playing, some of their best basketball these last couple games. They took apart Arizona. I was so impressed by that. And the fact they didn't have a letdown of any kind in the last game that they played as well. I was very impressed. They didn't have any sort of letdown. The next game that they played, they took care of business, rolled past Cal. After the big win against Arizona. I ain't going against the Bruins right now, Connor. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not nothing to do with this game. I don't think so. Stanford, again, took care of SC. We're seeing SC might be a bit kind of frauds. UCLA came back. We thought it might be a flat spot with Cal. Took care of business. I'm high on the Bruins, but yeah, you got to pay the premium. Maybe look at a team total to get over. But I haven't looked at it yet really deep.
Yeah, I mean, and I think USC deserves to be classed. You deserve to be called out as a fraud when you're a 50% or free throw shooting team like USC is. I mean, USC is just horrible. You got to improve on that, man. You can't be, barely into the, I think actually they're pushing 60 now. It was worse earlier in the year, but just a horrible free throw shooting team. Max, did you have any thoughts on Stanford and UCLA?
Yeah, for me, I just like to wear Pac-12 apparel. I try not to bet it.
There you go. Nothing. Yeah, exactly. It's not one of the sexy conferences at all when it comes to college basketball. Hell, college football, for that matter, too. All right, Max. The floor is yours. Give us whatever else you got here for the remaining games on your card.
Yeah, listen, I think that when I look at this Southern Jaguar team, they are just a bet on team. I think that when I look at them, I want to bet on them on the additional spreads. I think that they're not going to win this game by 1 point. If they win this game, they're going to win this game by multiple buckets. So why not just cut out the VIG and let's get a little freaking fancy with it? I think that Southern at close to 5 points that's where their winning margin's probably going to lie. And that makes them at 3.5 definitely a worthy play of getting on for the show. We've seen Southern go in and dominate bigger and badder teams. Alcorn St has made you money, but that train is over. It's time to back Southern in this spot. And at minus 3.5 at plus 110, we're taking away the VIG, and you got yourself fucking a little freaking combo money for a Popeyes meal. And support your local Popeyes.
There you go. Yeah, but Jalen Clark and Johnny Juzang, I want to mention this. They are both out tonight for UCLA. Yet, without Juzang the last game, they still crushed Cal by 24. So that's why I was so impressed by that. So keep that in mind, though. Can they do it again without those two guys? That's the big question, though. But still, I'm not stepping in front of UCLA, but I just wanted to mention the status of those two guys for that game. All right, Max, what else you got?
Yeah, listen, I think that the last thing that I really have is just my best bet parlay. So I want to hold off on that till we're ready to pop off.
We are. We're ready, and we're ready for the second draw as well. Before we get to best bets and wrap up the show, we're ready for the second draw of the $100. Let's roll. Here we go. I know the anticipation, man. It's just, who's it going to be?
There's a lot of names I know.
There you go, Chris Scott.
Damn.
You are our second winner. $100 coming your way. Congratulations. DM at Pub Sports Radio on Twitter with your Cash App information, and they'll make sure you get that $100 sent directly to you. Congratulations again, Chris Scott, our second $100 winner. All you had to do all you had to do was hit hashtag net profit. And there it is. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to everybody for participating in the giveaways. And thanks to everyone for joining us. We appreciate that here on the Net Profit College Basketball Saturday Show. 256 live viewers. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. And we're going to wrap things up in just a second. Best bets from the entire crew coming on up after this. Right, Southtown 101 when you're in San Antonio, Texas, and a lot of us will be there in a couple months, and it'll be popping. Southtown 101, San Antonio, Texas. Stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Manscaped promo code PubSports. 20% off Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product. 20% off with promo code PubSports. MyBookie.ag. Promo code PubSports. NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. We got NFL Championship Sunday. Lots going on. Sign up for an account. Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit. MyBookie.ag. Promo code PubSports. And the Pub Rub, 2 for $25 or $14.99 each. Get it. PubSportsRadio.com. All right. Best bets for this wild and huge, massive Saturday college basketball card. Max, we'll start with you. You got a best bet parlay. What do you got?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'm going with the best bet parlay. It's part logic, part homerism. And don't worry, Bonnies are not on it. We're going with Liberty. We're going with UConn on the money line. We're putting those two fucking sweet $12 cupcakes together, and we're adding one of the most profitable underdogs in Conference USA. Doesn't matter if on the road, doesn't matter if at home. They got another stiff test today. Their name is Western Kentucky, and Middle Tennessee will stay within 6 points. So we're going with Middle Tennessee +6, UConn on the money line, Liberty on the money line +238. Let's fuck with our eyes open.
There we go. I like it. So there you go. A couple money
Kentucky.
line pieces, as well as plus the points with Middle Tennessee State, and of course Liberty and UConn. I like UConn laying the points actually in that game against DePaul. So I'm with you on that. I think it's a good. I think UConn actually could smack them down in that game. So hopefully, not only do they win by margin there in that game against DePaul. So there it is. Money line, best bet parlay with money line with UConn and Liberty, and +6 with Middle Tennessee State. Best bet parlay there for Maxwell Smart. Connor Mack, best bet.
Yeah, I will have Pegasus picks. I will have that later in the day. I got to do it. I love Max was on it. I lasered on it last night. He got 5. I didn't get 5. I got 4.5. Wilmington +4.5. I thought this game should have been a pick'em with Hofstra, so I got to take the value in the points. So +4.5 Wilmington today.
All right, there you go. Wilmington +4.5 against Hofstra. There it is. Best bet for Connor Mack for this Saturday college basketball card. And my best bet is going to be, look, I really like Arizona. I'm going to play it a little safer, a little more cautious with the team total instead of laying the points. 83.5 is what we've got with the team total with Arizona. I love this team. Tommy Lloyd's a great coach. I have no worries about them whatsoever, even after the loss against UCLA. They're not a fraud. They're still good. Everybody's going to have a rough game every now and then. They'll be fine, and they get the ideal opponent to absolutely smack down. And like I say, the last time they lost a game, you know what they did the next time out? They lost to Tennessee. They scored 95 in the next game against Washington. I think they get high 80s or 90s today for points. Let's go Arizona Wildcats team total over 83.5. That'll be my best bet for this Saturday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Net Profit College Basketball Show here on Pub Sports Radio. Hit that like button on the way out. Remember, check out Maxwell Smart and Connor Mack all week long, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, for the Net Profit College Basketball Show. We're out. Have a great Saturday. For Maxwell Smart, Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will see you again Monday. I'll be here for NBA Pub Up, Connor and Max for Net Profit College Basketball right here on Pub Sports Radio.